Hello and welcome to this week's BizSmart Lunch and Know webinar. Our weekly webinars are aimed to provide advice and share knowledge amongst business owners, and this is part of our service to our Smart Room members. If you're not already a member or a BizSmart client or would like to access our archive of webinars, then please visit our website biz-smart.co.uk and go to the Smart Room page. Our host joining me today is BizSmart Select member Stu Avis. Before we start today's webinar, can I ask you all to use the question mark function on your screen to post any questions that you may have for Stu, and he will answer them all at the end of the session. Thank you, Stu. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we just press that? Okay, so this webinar really is going to be born out of a number of conversations I've had with people over the last 6 months or so in helping think through how to plan projects. And when I was a newly qualified youth worker kind of 20 years ago, I was introduced to a particular planning tool that really revolutionised the way that I did everything in my planning, from a 15-minute kind of youth work intervention to a 3-year strategy. And since leaving youth work and getting back into design and running my own business, it's been a cool tool in helping me develop my business and create and maintain focus. So I kind of thought that I'd sort of share this with you. So hopefully you'll find this helpful. But obviously, if you've got any questions, then please do flag them up and we'll try to answer them. So I just titled this, I love it when a plan comes together, because as Caroline said, it shows my age. So there we go. Thank you, Caroline. But so today we're going to cover the following topics. So why have a plan in the first place? Why not just get on and do stuff? I want to introduce the tool to you, and her name is NAOMIE. I'm then going to teach you how to make a cup of tea. I'll explain more later, and then there'll just be a quick summary. So why have a plan in the first place? Well, Stephen Maraboli said, if you don't know exactly where you're going, how will you know when you get there? So a plan is really important to keep you on track. It gives you a structure for any for any activity at all, whether it's growing your company, on the macro scale to the micro scale of a whole range of kind of different things. So having a good plan actually gives you that structure. It also gives you focus too, which is really important. It keeps you focused. It keeps your eyes on the ball the whole time. It keeps you on track so that you know kind of, if you're sort of veering off to the left or to the right, it actually enables you to kind of keep on the way that you have determined to go. It gives you a means of measuring the outcomes. It's really important that when you finish an activity, whatever that activity might be, to actually measure the outcomes and assess and evaluate where you're going. And a good plan should do that for you. And it helps you build for the future, because the last question you ask is, so what now? So what next? So with this webinar, we've uploaded a file that you can use. It's just called the NAOMIE document, and it's just a PDF that you can use. And you can either print it off and write in it sort of longhand, or I've actually made it so that you can type your answers in. So if there's time, we might go through that at the end, but I suspect we won't. So it's there for you to use. So you can either write in it or just kind of type in it, depending on what you do. So make use of that as and when you want to, and I hope that it helps you. So those are the kind of 5 main reasons for having a plan. So I want to introduce you to NAOMIE. So the reason it's capitalised, obviously, is because every letter means something. So we're going to go through those really quickly, and then look at kind of what they mean. So unpack that a little bit more in a minute. So the first is need. You have to understand what your need is for any activity. Why am I doing this? What need does this meet? And then look at your aims. So your aim is always to meet your needs. The O is for objectives, breaking that aim down into smaller manageable chunks. The methods, the actual practical steps you're going to take to do whatever it is that you're going to do. Indicators are your signposts. Are you on track? Are you not on track? And then finally, evaluation. So the process of evaluating, but also the questions that you ask. So needs, aims, objectives, methods, indicators, and evaluation. So we're going to unpack those a little bit more now. So need, in order to plan anything, you have to understand what need a certain activity is going to fulfill. So this is the single most important part of the planning process, and it's actually the most difficult thing to get right. And it took me a while to kind of get my head around it, but once I did, it became quite a natural thing for me to sort of discern what need I'm trying to meet. But it's really important to say, you know, this activity in and of itself may be good, but actually what's the purpose? What need is it trying to do? So am I trying to grow my business? Am I trying to work my way through a solution, through a particular problem? Am I looking to grow my brand awareness? Am I looking to rebrand? Am I looking to get a new website? All those things are fine, but actually what need does that thing fulfill? And that's the most important thing out of all this, because once you understand your needs, everything else kind of begins to fall into place. So second is your aim. So once you've identified your aim, and your needs, you then need to work out what your aim is, and that very simply is to meet your need. So my need is to grow my business, therefore my aim is to do that, okay? So don't expound on it too much. At this point, can leave it for the next kind of stage of planning. So objectives. So your core aim is then broken down into smaller bite-sized objectives. So maybe it's the steps that you take along the way to achieve your aim, which meets your need. So this is kind of the heart of the plan, really, and it's where you get to think strategically and with a bird's eye view about, well, what objectives do I need to meet in order to meet my aim, my ultimate aim, and therefore my need. At this stage, we're not talking about practical things that you do. It's what objectives do I need to fulfill in order to actually kind of progress this. Then actually the methods. Once you've worked out what your aims and your objectives are, you then need to work out what your methods are. Those practical things that you will do that actually meet those objectives, which then meet your needs. So this effectively, it's a do list part. It's the I will do this, I will go networking, I will write content for my website, I will look some images, I will source a photographer, I will speak to this person or that person. It's a thing, the physical things that you will do that actually meet the objectives and therefore the aim and the need. And then indicators. So it's always good to think through what signposts are you looking out for that tell you if you're on the right track or not. I tend to write these as a series of questions. So by this time, this should have happened. Has it? Have I done this? Have I done the next thing? What has my readership of my emails gone up? All those kind of things. So it's the indicators that tell you whether you're on the right track or not. And then finally, evaluation. So you have to evaluate any process so that you know how effective or successful it has been or maybe not been. So you go, oh yeah, that was just that, and then you move on. You've not really kind of got to heart, well, why was it so good, or why didn't it work in the way you wanted it to? And that's partly process. So what process will you use to evaluate? And then actually what questions do you need to ask yourself in order to be able to evaluate properly. So I'm going to teach you how to make a cup of tea. I used to train youth workers as in a previous life, and this was always the tool that I used to use to help my trainees think through how to best use this tool. And everyone knows how to make a cup of tea, but when you break it down into component parts, you can see how it all kind of fits together. So your first is your need. So you need to work out what your core need is if you want, whatever you want this activity or strategy to meet. So the case in here isn't, I need a cup of tea. It's the most fundamental thing. So I am thirsty. So my core need is, oh my goodness, I'm really thirsty. So therefore, my aim is to quench my thirst. So it's really important to try to kind of get to the heart. I'm going to go back to the need for a second of kind of what that is. So when planning an activity, devising a strategy, it's really easy to get stuck into the big ideas and the small details of actually what need are we trying to meet? What's the fundamental purpose of this undertaking? When if you can begin to understand what need you're trying to meet, you'll be more focused on the solution. The evaluation will be simpler, and you'll be more effective in your methodology, those practical steps that you're going to take. So identifying that need is really tricky, but it is really important. So then once you've identified your core need, your aim is clear, you need to quench your thirst. Actually, there are loads and loads and loads of ways of quenching your thirst. On a hot day like this, you might actually choose a glass of water, or a cold drink, or a cup of coffee, or a glass of wine, or whatever it might be. So you actually now need to think, okay, so I am thirsty. I need to quench my thirst. So my objective is therefore to make a cup of tea. Okay, my objective is I have a need, I'm thirsty, I'm going to quench my thirst, so I'm going to do that by making a cup of tea. Now, in the real world, actually, you will have a lot more objectives than just this simple example, obviously, but hopefully you can see how it's all kind of breaking down in its component parts. I normally have probably between 5 and 10 different objectives depending on the scale of the project that I'm kind of planning at any one time. Sometimes it can be just 1 or 2 things. The longest has maybe 15 and 20 objectives, but that was a kind of a 3-year strategy. So, and actually every one of those elements then actually had its own NAOMIE as well. It was quite a big beast. This was several years ago when we were planning a massive youth work project. So I broke all those things down into its component parts. But your objective in this case is simple. You're going to quench your thirst by making a cup of tea. So the methods are the practical steps you're going to take. So note at this stage that we've not done anything practical to meet the need. All we've done is identify the need and worked out the activity that we feel will best meet the need, i.e. making a cup of tea. So now it's time to get in the detailed plan of the methodology. So in this slightly silly example, the methodology is simple, isn't it? It's pour water into kettle, put kettle on. Place tea bag into mug, unless you're going to obviously use the whole teapot thing. Pour into boiling water into mug. Stir the tea bag until liquid is desired colour. Remove the tea bag, add a milk, sugar according to preference, and then drink the tea. It's really important to actually have, well, once I've got this thing, what am I going to do with it? Well, in this case, I'm going to drink the tea. So actually, this seems a really silly example, but by breaking it down into its component parts, on a bigger plan, you can see that actually I will join a networking group. I will go and talk to this person. I will buy this service. I will expand my team. I will put new desk in. I will update my computer. Whatever it might be, simple and large, it's a methodology, the practical steps you're going to take to achieve the objectives, which obviously ends up meeting the ultimate aim and the need as well. So be as specific as you possibly can be, even if it's kind of like seems idiot, kind of or idiotic. Just write it down, because it's so easy to forget the simple stuff and just think about the highbrow, the levels, and all that kind of stuff. So then the indicators, they're the signposts that you're looking for to see how you're progressing, and actually gives you a really good early warning system if things are not going as planned. So one critical thing I learned as a youth worker all those years ago was to think through what indicators I needed to ensure that the strategy or the plan or the session, whatever it was on track. Is the young person really engaged here? Do they keep looking out the window? Are they really focused? Are they asking the right questions? Are they doing, kind of what it is, the activity that we're doing? Are they stuck? And if they're stuck, why? Is that me or is it them? Where's the disconnect here? So as business owners, it's really easy to look at the end game without taking time to assess how we're doing in the meantime. So key indicators, for instance, in a marketing strategy, might be to look at how many click-throughs you're getting on an email campaign, or how many likes your social media posts are receiving, for instance. In an SEO campaign, or indicators might be extra hits to the website, or the fact that you're now on page 2 rather than page 3 of Google. But equally, if you're on page 3 and you drop to page 4, then you need to be flagging this up. So your indicators will be saying, well, I should be moving up scale and I've dropped down, so why? So when planning almost any activity, work out what indicators you're looking for. Are my staff on track? Are they actually doing the things that we've trained them to do? How well are they doing it? What's the customer service like? How are people coming to us and actually spending more money? Are we seeing a good return of repeat customers? All those different indicators will also be relevant individual to your own business. So work out what indicators you're looking for and use those as your measuring sticks. So in this very silly example, actually indicator was easy. Was a cup of tea made? Well, yes or no. And if it wasn't, then why not? But obviously we made a cup of tea, so there we go. So that was the indicator. So then comes the process of evaluation. So this covers two issues: the process of evaluation and the questions you ask. So it may be that actually you might do an ongoing evaluation through the life of the project. If it's an ongoing strategy, you may well do an evaluation once a month. Are we on track? How are we doing? But there needs to be a process of evaluation which centers around one fundamental question: did this activity meet the need, or is this activity meeting the need if it's part of an ongoing process? So, and the obvious answer to that question will provide and provoke other lines of discussion. So in our example here, was a cup of tea made? Yes, that's great. But actually, is my thirst quenched? Have I actually met my need? And if the answer is yes, I am no longer thirsty, then all well and good. But actually, if my answer is, do you know what? No, I'm still thirsty. Then, well, why am I still thirsty? Did I make enough tea? Was the mug big enough? Was it a dainty teacup as opposed to a whacking great big mug? Was the tea that actually the right drink for me to quench my thirst? Would a glass of water or a cold can of something be better? Would actually a nice glass of wine on a warm summer's evening, actually, is that the thing that you want? If not, actually, will I make tea again? Actually, and if not, then actually what drink would I pour myself to quench my thirst next time I encounter a situation? Did I actually make the tea right? Was it too strong? Was it too weak? Was it too sugary? Was there not enough milk in it? And actually, what would I do differently next time? And all those questions that actually come out of, was my need met? Well, actually, no, it wasn't. So why not unpack those kind of things? And and depending on if it's just you evaluating or there's a team of you, that process, actual sitting down and evaluating, will be different. There are some really great kind of evaluation tools that I've used that we can share later on if you want to. So I've kind of sort of covered that, but you have to then say, well, where do we go from here? What's the fundamental? What have we learned? What would we do again? What would we not do again? And where do we go from here? So in summary, having a plan gives you structure and focus. And the need. Be clear on the need this activity is meeting. That's really important. Be really clear. Have that clarity of thought and of mind. What is your sole aim is to meet this need. I am thirsty, therefore my aim is to quench my thirst. Break down your aim into component parts. Obviously, this example, there is only kind of one component part, but actually most plans will have a number of objectives that you need to meet. What are your methods of practical steps that you're going to take? What indicators are you looking for to see if you're on track or not? And then finally, evaluation. How are you going to evaluate it and its success? So I appreciate that this example is very basic and very, very simple, but the theory remains the same regardless of the size of the activity. So I've used NAOMIEs, as I said earlier, to plan everything from an overarching 3-year view strategy involving 50 people, 200 teenagers, 6 different centres, about a dozen different kind of activities at least, and all those things all combining through to, I've got a 15-minute intervention, and what do I need to do? What's my plan here? So it can be something really small as well as something really big. And I found that when using a plan, and particularly this type of plan, my activity is more focused, I'm clearer of thought and intention, my methods are more precise, and my outcomes are far more in line with what I intended to do in the first place. I just kind of want to end with a quote. JFK said, "The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining." It's a bit late if it's raining and the water's already coming through, if you know your roof needs fixing. So have that plan in place to actually make, you know, to just kind of keep on track, keep focus, and hopefully you will see the outcomes that you want. So I hope that helps. And if there are any questions, then please do let us know.
Okay, thank you very much. You have got a question. The first one is from Susan, and she asks, why is it so important to have a structured plan?
I think it's really important to have a structured plan, actually, because I think it's really, it keeps you on track. If it's written down, it's something that's on paper, it's a physical thing, and it gives you a degree of accountability, which is really important. Share your plans with other people as well. If it's just you in the business, is there someone that you can go, this is what I'm planning, can you help keep me accountable to this plan of action that I'm taking? And a structured plan also gives you room for manoeuvre as well. So you can look at it a month and then go, do you know what, that's not quite working. So I can change it now. I write my plans, but I don't hold on to them too fiercely or too tightly. You have to build in some degree of flexibility because life gets in the way and has a habit of messing things up just when we don't want it to. So treat these things lightly, but treat them seriously at the same point. Keep to your plans, but don't be afraid of changing, adapting it, increasing or decreasing your time frame. It's like the whole SMART objectives kind of thing. One of them is obviously time sensitive. So actually don't be afraid of adapting it on the fly, but write down your adaptations. And so hopefully the sheet that I've kind of given you will help you do that a little bit more as well.
Okay, thank you. Got one more question come through from Simon, and he asks, what ways do you recommend regarding evaluation of a project?
That's a really good question. Evaluation is very hard to do on your own. I actually think it's impossible because you cannot be objective about the activity that you've undertaken. So evaluation generally needs to be done with at least one other person. If you're going to do it on your own, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Because it's really easy to go, do you know what? It didn't kind of work out as hoped, but it was really good nonetheless. Whereas actually, if there's someone challenging that and go, well, why wasn't it so good? Or actually, why was it better than expected? Someone's kind of push and challenge. So there are two really good tools that I use. If there's a team of you, then we use kind of like a brainstorming thing where we have three pads of Post-it notes, and one is for the things that were good, one encourages the things that weren't so good, the challenges that we face, and the other one is, well, what would we do differently? And so everyone writes down 5 minutes of mad scribbling and smacking into 3 piles. You've got 3 messy piles of Post-it notes, and then you basically take out all the replicas, and so that is then everyone's thoughts and opinions, and then you just go around and share all of those, and that has proved insanely useful over the years if there's 3 or 4 of you all investing time and effort and sometimes money into a project. If it's just you and another person, then just come up with a really good set of questions. So what did we try to do? Why did we try to do it in the first place? What went well? What could we improve on? Would we do the same thing again? If yes, great. How could we do it better? But actually, if you wouldn't do it again, then what would you do instead? Is the whole thing dead in the water? You have to be just really honest with yourself and agree almost beforehand a set of questions or topics to kind of look at. Write them down as well. Don't just think about it, oh yeah, that's fine. Because a week later you'll have forgotten it. So write them down. Write down the where next. That's the most important thing out of all of this is where do we go from here? And writing it down means it's kind of on paper and it's something to refer back to kind of, a month later, whatever like that. So I hope that helps.
Great. Thank you again to Stu for hosting today's webinar. I will be sending out a copy of his presentation and his contact details out to you all very shortly. So please do email any further questions you may have direct to Stu. But before we close, just a quick reminder that this webinar is part of our service to our Smart Room members. If you're not already a member or a BizSmart client and would like to access the archive of webinars, then please visit our website, biz-smart.co.uk, and go to the Smart Room page. That's the end of today's webinar. Thank you all for joining us and hope you can join us again very soon.